All right, y'all. We wanna hold on. Let me see if we can go back. All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and His Son, Mashiach Yahweh Shai, who we recognize as Jesus Christ. I want to talk briefly on something that I discussed with my with a couple of brothers, um, and something that was been brought to my attention, and that I tried to debunk, but it was the fact that I was told by someone even challenged. It wasn't a direct challenge. I was watching this person's channel and I heard him say that sub-Saharan Africans, sub-Saharan West Africans did not could not read or write. They did not have an alphabet until the slave trade, until the Islamic slave trade. They did not. They have the ability to read or write. And they did not have it because they didn't have an alphabet. And I looked into that and I seen that yeah, it's a little truth to that. The alphabets that I seen in West Africa, they were mixed with Arabic letters, Arab letters. And we know a lot of these countries are Muslim. But not only that, these countries are Muslim. Man, it's a lot that we don't know. Man, it's a lot we don't know about our own history. And excuse me, because I'm a little stuffy. It's a lot we don't know about our own history. Um, really, we don't know nothing really about it. But to go over that to deal with these other folks' history, we really have to study and put these timelines together, and we're really just jumping ship, trying to make things fit, and we're making, my brother Ron Dalton. We're gonna get into him. He need a little love. Somebody got to show him some love to say, hey man, you may need to go back and research this stuff. It can't be speculative, especially when you going and telling people as African American, you going and telling people, hey, you not really Bantu. Bantus ain't really Bantus. Igbos ain't really Igbos. What were you before you was an Igbo and a Bantu? And you really have to look at a brighter, you got to widen your scope. It can't be just, simplistic, um, simplistic speculation. Let me just say that. Well, the land's supposed to be fruitful. Why ain't this land fruitful? And this is the most fruitful land, so it's really supposed to be here. We can't. We can't. You don't want to down that sword. You want something. You want something that has a little more meat on it. All right. For lack of words, you want something that has a little more meat on it. That can really be put through the ground. And I think that's why a lot of people aren't taking it serious. I don't even think this African takes some of the questions that he's asking them. I don't think he believes for a word. Even saying that, hey man, we didn't cross the Red Sea. It wasn't really the Red Sea. Man, you need something heavy to move the Red Sea. You need something heavy to say this land with all these artifacts being found is not Israel. And that this land where ain't no artifacts being found is Israel. Like, you need a lot of weight to move a nation. You need a lot of weight to move Egypt. A lot of people saying Egypt is in America. You need a lot of weight for that. You can't just look at cities named after Egypt. Alexandria, everywhere he conquered, he built the Alexandria. I think it's over 500 cities with Alexandria cities. outside of the one we know biblically in but it's one in India, it's one everywhere he conquered. There was he put in Alexandria. um and like I say, it's African countries that speak Portuguese. They're African countries that speak Spanish. All right, and it's because of colonialism, and sometimes we even take in our you know efforts in trying to prove that we the people, or we Israelites, or the Israelites were black. We're going into, okay, well, no, we were the Portuguese were black. And so when you take that, you got to go with that timeline. Okay, well, we're saying the Portuguese Jews, they were dark. Okay. They were swarthy. Okay. They were also wealthy. They were also, they was also, uh, financing the slave trade. You got to put them in that position. All right. You could have the skin tone, but then now you can't use Deuteronomy 28. You can't use Deuteronomy 28 and the Portuguese Jews or the Spanish Jews. You can't do that. So you got to understand timelines and how certain things may fall off and be affected by some of the things that some of the information but we all can't be right, and we all can be a little right. And that's all we trying to figure out. Ultimately, that's all we trying to figure out. So again, not to just keep rambling, Africans could not read or write. And when I told people that, man, they got in their feelings a little bit. Usually out the gate, you like, oh man, what? No, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Even when you thinking about, they didn't want us to read the Bible. They knew if we read it and da. And it's like, you couldn't. They could have sat it in front of you, but unless somebody taught you them syllables, you couldn't read it. But you eventually would have found out how to do it. And it wasn't that they didn't have the ability to read. It's just they didn't have an alphabet. They didn't develop one. That wasn't something that they were doing. They wasn't writing on parchment paper. They weren't carving letters in stone. They weren't documenting anything. Everything was orally passed down or orally given until the slave trade came about. But I want to show this. This is not the clip I wanted to show initially. I want to show this lady here. And we pronounce. See what she's saying. She says, for instance, the letter Q. She's gonna tell you what they changed the letter Q into. We pronounce no. Letter X. We pronounce letter Q. We pronounce no. The letter X we pronounce mwe, and the letter C is mwi, and the letter R is ha. So if they already had a language, she wouldn't be using English. She wouldn't be using English letters to pronounce her. And that clicking word, those clicking languages is very distinctive. It's a distinctive attribute for a lot of those sub-Saharan tribes, West African tribes. You don't see the clicking. You don't really see the clicking in Shemitic languages. Not that I know of. I could be wrong. You can let me know if I'm wrong, but you don't hear the clicking. The clicking is very distinctive to these tribes. And of course, what would you put? I think she said it's a Q. They put a Q for the clicking, but how would you write that? How would you write that? How would you write that? Have words like utrecha, which means a medical doctor. Iqaqa is a skunk. Ixoxo is a frog. Ukuxuma means to jump.
And can you sing like before?
Uh-huh. The same song?
Yes, the same.
Ah, I see. I will sing a song which comes from Pondoland. It is called Baxabene Oqam. Baxabene Oqam, Baxabene Gengoqo, Bexakwe Yingxubaqaka. Ay Baxabene Oqam, Baxabene Gengoqo, Bexakwe Yingxubaqaka. Ay Keleke Ikaya Laxange Qengeni, Wo Bekatama, Gekoto Lekude. Ay
All right. So again, um, yeah, you'll have to show where there was an alphabet in order to say um that there's a language there, that was a language there for them to read or and write. And but you need an alphabet first, and you don't have that. So the history there, it has to be told orally. We wasn't writing down history, or West Africans weren't writing down history. All right. And this is important because our brother Ron Dalton is saying um that the Bantus are the Israelites. And we know that Israelites have been writing for a very long time. That language has been written down for a very long time. But that alphabet did change too. I want to say third, fourth century, wherever the Masoretic text, or they start making the Masoretic um alphabet, Masoretic Hebrew. When they came together and they put those symbols together, they made an alphabet. They were speaking it, but they couldn't write it, and they probably couldn't read, and so they made an alphabet. That's what it seems like to me. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but they made an alphabet that's similar to the um the paleo. Some of the letters kind of similar to the paleo, but not quite. Some of the stuff is quite different. But they made this block form Hebrew, um is which called the Masoretic text. But it's still a long, it's a long list of writing. It's a long list of history, even with the Paleo Hebrew, even with with the hieroglyphs, even with all the documents on the papyrus, even with the epistles, and then you come in, even you know even to today's time, and a lot of these people still don't. Not even just them, but also the Native Americans um, didn't have no written language, didn't have no alphabet. Let's look here. But this is why it's problematic. This is why I'm bringing this up, because of people who are following Ron's Dalton methodology, um, and not taking these things into account. It's just some things that you just have to, you know, that you're gonna have to take into account. I think he's gonna say something about it, but we'll see.
Also have to look into Africa because we come from Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and so it's being from America. I want to wake up my people. That's the reason why I subtitled the book "Wake Up America," "Wake Up Black America." But there's more of us uh, in the continent of Africa than in the diaspora, and so hitting the Caribbean, hitting America or the Americas and Europe is fine, but we have to take it back to the continent because there's hundreds and thousands of millions of people in the continent in sub-Saharan Africa that I believe don't know who they really are. They may know what tribe they come from, such as Igbo, Yoruba, Zulu, Swati, and they may say they're South African, Nigerian, Ghanaian, Congolese, but at the end of the day, these words do not tell us anything about our ancestral lineage, our pedigree, where we come from, our history, as it goes back thousands of years, not just to colonial times in the 14 and 1500s.
I'm thinking, you say a lot of us don't know who we are. And I'm thinking, as a South African, as an African, why should I be looking to an American to tell me who I am? Who are we?
Well,
And that's a very valid point. Why in the world should they be looking to an American? Why should they be looking to an American? And then even understanding the history of South Africa and how they divided. And they were saying nobody was there. Who was there before they, some of that stuff was claimed. They didn't have maps of that stuff. They had to draw those maps out and go in there. And that's another thing. Like, who was drawing the maps? Who, like, they had we just gotta admit it. Just gotta admit it, man. I hate to say it, but they just were more advanced. And the people of that particular area, just all the people of the biblical that were in that biblical area, if I show a map, they just were more advanced than sub-Saharan. They were more advanced than the Native Americans, more advanced than those Native Australians, the indigenous Australians, more advanced than, even some of those uncontacted tribes. And man, listen, some of those uncontacted tribes, they're not advancing. All right, because it's really no need to. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But and it's really, I don't know if it's even advanced or not. They may be way more happier. What that's kind of in the eyes of the beholder, I guess. Like I can't say that we're better off, but yeah, it's some cultures that's still doing what they did 2,000 years ago. They still having it. There's some countries in Africa, even though Africa, well, maybe have all these resources, but you can't manufacture them. You don't know how to create you don't know how to manufacture it and make it into a viable product that you can ship out. All you know how to do is dig it up. And it's not that you can't learn. It's just it takes somebody to teach you. Or you have to send somebody to go get the information, and then somebody has to teach you how to refine those products. And this is where the problem comes in. And then you want them to teach you, and that's what their issue is now, is that you want them to teach you how to refine some of those minerals so that you can sell it to them at a higher price, when they want to just buy the minerals from you raw and then refine it themselves and then sell it. Like, they don't want you cutting them out. And that's, when you built that relationship, you started that relationship like that, you can't expect them to let that go. Unless you expect them to be some really friendly people. Unless you're expecting them to be really friendly, some good-hearted people, for them to let that go. Oh, we gonna teach you how to refine it. We gonna take it from you for a high price. And we gonna let you be independent and build your nation, build your country up, and pay us and pay all this money. It's people, man, cities that white people that came in, like the French and the British. They done came in, built these cities up, and then left. And people still holding on to these cities from 1800s. They still holding on to those buildings. It's still like the prize of the country. These buildings that were left by the French. It's just reality, man. Can't say especially, Um, I don't like it, we got to deal with truth, man. We got to be honest. Especially like during Black History Month. Um, we get juiced up and pumped up about things that really don't matter. You know, oh, this was the first to do this, or this was the first black person this, and this was the first black person that. But if you don't own it, if it can't be taught and passed down, if it's not something culturally that we do, it's kind of pointless. And you don't really see that in sub-Saharan West Africa. You know, they kind of missing that. You'll see it in some of those Arab countries, but you don't see it. You don't see it much in sub-Saharan. But let's continue.
Anybody can do research. If you ask somebody, what does the word Nigeria mean? They may not know. Well, what does the word Niger come from? Is it a Greek word? Is it a Latin word? In Latin, the word Niger or Niger means black. In the Portuguese language, the word Negro means black. In the Arabic language, Azawad means black. In the Hebrew language, Shakur means black. So when you say that I'm Nigerian, what does that mean? Who is your ancestral forefather? If you go back to 2000, 3000 BC, when we had civilizations like the ancient Egyptian civilization, the ancient Kush civilization, the ancient Sumerian civilization, even going back to the ancient Indian civilization in India and the ancient Chinese civilization. So we have to really understand that we may be told, okay, you're from this tribe, you're Nigerian, but each person, if they talk to the elders, they talk to those that know the history of the priests, they have an oral history that tells of how they got to where they are today, how they even got the name Igbo or Yoruba or Zulu or Kosa. And if you understand that sometimes the people that know the oral history, they can only go back so far. And sometimes you might find conflicting information in where do we come from.
Now, this is the thing too, is that he's saying, well, the elders can only go back so far. And again, you're an American, and then he said sometimes the stories be conflicted, and but you're not even connected to that oral. You don't even know if they telling you that's the truth. You don't even know if they trust you enough to tell you the truth. Like you're not even connected to them. They don't really see you as no Bantu. You may think you a Bantu, but they don't see you as no Bantu. And then you saying they're not Bantu. All right, so somebody that took their identity, and that's the thing, man. So then we talking about, well, we can't say the white man took our identity because our identity was gone before that, because we considered ourselves Bantu in Aruba, in Igbo. So our identity was already taken if we take his narrative. So him calling you a Negro or calling you a nigger or calling you a African American, you can't blame him for that because you didn't know who you were anyway. Somebody that already called you a Bantu. And who called you a Bantu? Who called you that? You gonna say it's the Latin? So when did the Latin hit West Africa? And you have to make that, you have to fill that in. You can't just say it. You got to put meat on it. You can't speculate. When did the Latin get in? The Niger means Latin. Okay, well, when did the Latin come into play? And what did they, if the river is not called the Niger River, what did the people call it? What did the people call themselves?
But when you look at some of the most ancient historical accounts, things that we can tangibly see and touch, we can actually see and understand that there is an ancient Hebrew language. that existed in 2000 BC. It's written on the walls in Egypt. They found some of these writings in the Congo. There's ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. There's ancient Sumerian cuneiform writings. There's old archaic Chinese.
My biggest concern.
Sumerian cuneiform writings.
Now, he said they found some, and I would like to see that. You said they found some Hebrew in the Congo. I would love to see that. Or you said they found some hieroglyphs from Egypt in the Congo. Man, them Egyptologists would love to see that. They would love to see it. I would love to see it. But you still have to explain how the Egyptians get way to the Congo.
In Egypt, they found some of these writings in the Congo. There's ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. There's ancient Sumerian cuneiform writings.
There's cuneiform writing from the Samaritans and the Moabites. I don't know about the Samaritans. Cuneiform from the Samaritans. Sumerians. He may be talking about the Sumerians.
There's old archaic Chinese.
And the Chinese. They have well documented. I just said that about us saying the Moabites are the Chinese. The Chinese have a recorded history written down that go back 4,000 BC. They have a well-documented history. They have a well-documented history. And we can't ignore that, man. We just can't be throwing stuff out here. You can't ignore all them folks' history. They done built the darn Great Wall. When you say they built the Great Wall, when did they have time to do that and dealing with Israel next door to them? But yet they way over here building, come on, y'all, and fighting each other. I don't even think Alexander the Great made it to China. I don't think. I have to look into that. Y'all look that up.
My biggest concern when
Also have to look into.
I got another video, y'all. I didn't know this was gonna be so long, man. I apologize, y'all.
Is in Libya. The fourth son, Canaan, his land was one of the largest pieces of land that was allotted to the sons of Ham. His portion of land was the south part of Africa, south of the land of Cush, south of the land of Mitzrayim or Kemet or Egypt, and south of the land of Put. Now, we see south
fair
of
use
Sudan, in Egypt, in Libya. If you go down the Nile and past Sudan, you get into Uganda. Bordering Uganda, you have Kenya, you have Tanzania, you have Burundi and Rwanda, you have Congo, you have the Central African Republic, and if you go further south, you get into Angola, you get into Zimbabwe, and all these other southern countries. These back in the day were considered the land of Canaan.
Okay.
I know that in.
Now he just said that. All these countries going all the way down to the South Africa were considered to be the land of Canaan, and this is the land that was given to Israel, and that they do it all the way down to South Africa. Now watch what he's finna say.
The Christian church, we look at northeast.
Yeah, I thought that would be the Middle East.
Yes, and
where, and how did that confusion come about?
It came about because of the description of where the land was placed, and maps and rivers being, being considered, and saying, "Oh, this is where that river is. This is where that river is. This is the border." But he's extended these all the way down and said, "Well, the Christian church is confusing." He's saying, "Well, how did this confusion happen? How did they just think it was just that little part right there in the middle of the earth? And you're saying that it's the whole, it's going all the way down to South Africa."
Middle East is when they kind of disconnected Egypt from the Sinai Peninsula with the Suez Canal. The Europeans came up with that term, the Middle East, because it wasn't used back in the Roman times, and that's just to confuse people to think that there's a separation between that area, like there's a Middle West, there's a Middle North, and a Middle South. But what people have to understand that I talk about in my movies, especially my new movie, is that the children of Israel were told when they left with Moses and the Israelites to possess the land that I'm going to give you, the land of Canaan. And the children of Israel were the Bantu people. And the Bantu people today are the possessors of the land south of Sudan and Egypt. Now, who was there in the southern parts of Africa?
And again, Ron Dalton doesn't deal with a Deuteronomy 28 narrative. He's saying that majority of the Bantu control the land they're in Israel today, because he's considering South Africa and South Sudan, I guess, Israel, and majority of them are in the land now. And I don't know how he connects Deuteronomy 28 with that. I don't know how he keeps that narrative there. I'm confused, man.
Beyond the Nile River, it was the African pygmy. It was the Khoi Sam, or the Khoi Khoi, or the Bushmen. They were there before the Bantu people got there. The Bantu people got there, and just as the Bible states, they possessed the land, and in essence, they dispossessed the other native people that were there in that land. So that now...
Where does it say in the Bible? And just give us scriptural reference.
In the Torah.
Now, where does it say that in the Bible that he's going to go down to South Africa? He going to give, because it is, you're going to go to Canaan, you're going to take this land that I promised to your father Abraham. But where are the specifics that these were those people? Because the Bible calls them, they calls them Hittites. And they calls them these other names. These Hamitic tribes. So you go in that, man, you saying pygmies. Well, when did the pygmies, when did they lose? When did they start becoming called pygmies? Why ain't they called the Hittites and the Hizaphites and, those, why are they called those Canaanite tribes? And on top of that, you talking about the pygmies, man? I'm sitting here thinking about it. The pygmies, brother. Come on, Ron. Come on, brother Ron. It says they went to the land of Canaan. They said, man, those people were of great stature, man. It says they were of great stature. They were humongous people. They were powerful looking people. The city of Ai, you have to explain all of that. All of that, you have to move everything. All the locations, all the battles, all the tribes, not just Israel. You don't move just Israel, you move everybody. Everybody has to shift when you move a whole nation like that.
I don't know exact strip.
Sorry about the thing flipped up. Y'all was recording on my phone.
God told Moses and also Joshua that I'm going to bring you into the land that I promised your forefathers, Abraham and Isaac, the land of Canaan. When you get there, you're to possess it. So when you get there, you're not just going to stay there and then leave after 90 days. You're going to stay there and dispossess the people that are already there. And so this is the reason why the Bantu people from West Africa, like Senegal and Gambia, all the way to East Africa, to Central Africa, and South Africa, we are the majority tribe, the majority people, and you can tell this by DNA.
My mind is wandering now, because you're talking about leaving Egypt with Moses.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told.
All right, one more video, y'all. One more video. Hold on. Sorry about that. Let me see if this one it.
is in Libya. The fourth sun.
No, that's not one. I think we just watched that one.
Well, there's ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. There's ancient Sumerian cuneiform writings. There's old archaic Chinese. When you ask the Bantu person or in person in sub-Saharan Africa, where is your written language, your script? They're not going to know what it is. You say, well, every civilization has a language.
Yeah, every civilization has a language, but that don't mean they wrote it down. That don't mean they have an alphabet. Where's your language? And so now you finna just give these folks a language. Watch this, John.
Written language, your script. They're not going to know what it is. You say, well, every civilization has a language.
And you know, when I told my brother this, you know, my brother was like, man, that sounds like some white supremacists. They ain't civilized stuff, man. And I was like, man, I know what it sounds like, brother. But that's just what it is, man. That's just what it is. And they even put schools, man. You go into history and look at the schools they put the Native Americans in to learn how to read and write, to learn the alphabet. And then they can put their own language in the alphabet. Once you understand the alphabet system, just like the sister did with her language. You just go back and you find you some symbols. You can put any symbols with it. But some people will just use symbols of another language, you know, or a language of their oppressor. They'll use that language and, you know, use that alphabet form, but, you know, use those letters for their own language. And then, you know, that could be the alphabet. You know, no need of remixing something, doing something. Let's hear this again.
Or in person in sub-Saharan Africa, where is your written language, your script? They're not going to know what it is. You say, well, every civilization has a language, and they have a way that they write down things.
And you'll have to prove that. See, that's easy to say. Unless that's your requirement for being civilized. And if that's your requirement for being civilized, then what the white supremacists said is correct. That these are uncivilized people. They're brute beasts. Because they do not have a form of writing. Can't read or write. And that's there. What I seen one dude say, yeah, they were just like smart pets. My goodness. But you have to prove that. That sounds good. But you have to prove that. But on the contrary, there's many African tribes that do not have a language that's been written down. And so now he's finna to speculate and give a reason for why they don't have it.
Whether it was on rock or parchment, animal skins, or papyrus reeds, or paper. And I always ask the question, why is it that in sub-Saharan Africa that the Bantu people don't have their own original writing script? When we write using our language, we write it in the English script or the Roman Latin script.
And again, now he's asking himself, why don't you ask somebody who's a historian in Bantu history? Don't ask yourself and then just start trying to make some stuff up.
Or the Arabic script, if you're a Muslim. And that's a part of civilization, to have a written language, because with a written language, you can see how far back your people have been writing things, even if it's just hieroglyphics or symbols on a wall. So it's important that we, in day and age, we investigate a lot of things. The stuff that's in the rock caves, like the paintings in the rock caves. We investigate things that's in the earth, like skeletons. We investigate the bones the skull shape, the mandible, the maximum, the angles of the face.
Man, you ain't found nothing. You need some evidence of them having parchment paper. Man, people had to go to Egypt initially to write things because they were the first ones using that darn parchment paper. And that becomes a market within itself. All right, man, it's a whole market with writing on parchment paper and writing on animal skins. It's initially an expensive process. And you would have that history. You would find some of those parchments. You'll find some of that animal skin. But you don't see that. You'll find the process of making the parchment and how they made it. And how they had to preserve and how they had to shave the skins. But you don't see that there. You don't see that there. And, you know, they were wearing the skins. They, you know, they were wearing the skins, man. They weren't writing on the skins because they were wearing them. I hate to say it. You looking for some skins that they wearing the skins, man. They wearing them all. They weren't making garments. It was like, do the history on when they start wearing the shikis. Oh, somebody put that in the comments. When did Africans start wearing the shikis? How long has that been? But nah, I think they were, I think they were probably wearing them skins, man. They weren't trying to sit up there and worry about trying to write something down on something and try to preserve something that way or whatever. But let's let that finish out.
We investigate DNA. We investigate.
That was it. But yeah, he's saying investigate the caves, and you ain't found nothing, man. You ain't got to investigate nothing. That stuff, you should stumble across that stuff. You should be tripping over that stuff, especially the way that place been dug up from mining and all that, man. So ain't nobody found no parchment paper. Ain't nobody found no animal skin. Nobody found no writings. Ain't no mysterious writings. Jokers ain't even did a hoax over there with no alphabet. And that makes me think too about even those pews that excuse me, those pews over there in Africa. I mean, not in Africa, but Savannah, I think, with brother Dr. Richard Kelly Richardson, I think his name is. And they were trying to figure out what the writing is, but like I say, the reality is, unless they were Hebrews, unless they knew they were Jews, they weren't calling themselves Bantus and Igbos. They knew they were Jews, and they were still. You'll have to show that history with them there, and them doing that. But with that narrative, we have to also suggest that our identity was already gone before we got on those ships. If we Bantus and Igbos, your identity already gone. You know what I'm saying? So you can't blame the white man for that. Well, not those particular ones. And we have to go back and look at these slave trades. And I don't know why we don't count the Islamic slave trade. That started in the early 7th century. Why we not counting that as a slave trade? Why we saying how we missing 13 and that slave trade been going on 13 centuries. Going on 1,300 years. The Islamic slave trade been going on. And they just did some in 2007 to try to outlaw it. All right, it's been going on 1,300 years. Ain't nobody counting down that. Because we didn't feel like that was us. Evidently. And it's because we ain't really did no history on it also. And that's what I'm saying, man. It's just a lot of history that we're not talking about, that we're not going over, that and we're speaking boldly and even going to these other countries. And we don't know how ignorant we sound. That's all I'm saying. Man, we sounded very ignorant. And I'm not smart. And I don't know nothing. But I know enough to know that I don't know nothing. Pray this thing was edifying Israel. Y'all be blessed.